Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Derk Harron.
And we are here to do a very advanced review for you guys, at least a month and a week or so ahead of time. We got to see, if you couldn't tell, Escape Room, that is actually releasing, I think, January 4th, she said?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we got to see it. Here it is on November 29th, and they had a pre-screening that they, of course, said, you know, don't spoil anything. I'm still not sure. Maybe by the end of this review, I'll have decided whether or not we're going to record a spoiler review. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and talk about this like we normally do. We're going to do our overall thoughts. Then we'll talk about the story, the acting, the effects, set design for sure in this one. And we'll get to all that in turn. So I'm going to start off with this one and say I actually went in with pretty low expectations because it's another PG-13 horror movie. And those have not been tremendously great in recent history. But I gotta say that after having watched it, outside of a bit of a lackluster ending, I actually really had a good time with this movie. I especially enjoyed the set design. I bought into the characters. I'm a big fan of a few of the actors. And we'll get into all that, but yeah, my overall thoughts were I was really impressed with this movie. It is definitely not of the Slender Man or the Truth or Dare or you know, that level. It's definitely above those in my estimation. I am very curious though. It sounded while I was watching the movie that Derk was enjoying it more than at least I know he enjoyed the last one, Overlord. But I'm genuinely. I also felt the vibe that he might not have enjoyed the ending as much as, or that like I didn't either. So I'm curious, Derk, where did you fall on this one?
I really enjoyed it till the end.
All right. So it's one or the other with us. We either actually agree or we're diametrically opposed.
Yeah, I thought that the first and second act were great.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it got to a point where it just wrote itself into a corner, and that third act was lacking. Mm-hmm. But right off the bat, like it was pretty intense. I thought that just the rooms themselves were really interesting. I thought like it was a great concept, but I don't know. It's a bummer when you don't get a great ending.
It's true,
or even like doesn't even necessarily have to be a great ending. Just like an ending that feels right.
It feels like a step down from the rest of the movie is the problem. It's not such a bad ending that it like blows the movie up completely. Right. But it's just when you had such good stuff going for the first 2/3, and I would even venture to say the first 4/5 were really good to me. But just that the way they tried to stick the landing just didn't mesh for me. Like I was like, oh, they better stick this landing. Like they're gonna have to stick it, and they tried, but it just didn't quite work for me. Right. But I'm still extremely glad I went and saw this movie, and I'm extremely glad I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
Of course, free 99 is a fantastic price, but I will say that I would easily have had been glad to have paid for this movie had I done so. And I actually did put some money towards it to compensate a couple of a nice older couple that moved over so we could sit together. But yeah, it's surprising how this movie ended up. But yeah, I'm glad that we're on the same page here. So let's talk about the story overall. It's pretty self-explanatory. There's only been one trailer out as of our recording of this, so they haven't really started pushing it yet, if they're going to.
Yeah, I don't know.
But the story is a group of people are gathered to do an escape room. Escape rooms are very hot right now.
Yeah.
And it turns out that the escape rooms are actually life or death because it's multiple rooms. There are, some escape rooms are just one room. Some escape rooms are a series of rooms. This is the latter. And there are life or death stakes. And so the characters have to figure out, why is this happening? Why them? And all of that stuff. Now, here's where I do have to point out that while Escape Room is a unique title, and not even so because I think an escape room movie has been done before, but this is the bigger budget version. But this movie was done before, and it was called Cube. That was a series of escape rooms. They weren't done like escape rooms as we know them now. They were pretty barren, and there were traps.
Right.
But it was the same thing. A group of people put in the cube, having to escape room to room, not knowing why them. Is there someone in on it, or is there not someone in on it? So it's literally the exact same story, just put under an escape room veneer to fit today, which I didn't have a problem with. I love the Cube movies. I've been bummed that we haven't had any since Cube Zero, the prequel, but that's what this was, and it scratched that itch that has been missing since the Cube movies. What did you think of the story?
I liked it. You know, I thought that it gave really good background for each character. Like, you did kind of feel for them all. I think the only one that didn't give a really good background for was the one that was obsessed with escape rooms. You never really find out his story. They mention it briefly, but I just felt like with all the crazy flashbacks and how each person was like triggered for their flashbacks, I thought that was really cool.
I agree.
I thought that, like, you know, it was almost like each person had like their own form of PTSD.
I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah.
And I don't know. I thought that visually it was really, really out there. You know?
Yeah. Well, at times it was. That's what I gotta say. And we'll get into the set design and all that stuff eventually, because that was truly some of the most interesting stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But let's hit the acting first before we get there.
All right.
So the acting, again, I actually really, really like the acting in this movie. I'm aware of at least a few of the actors in here. There's the blonde lady that plays Jessica in Daredevil, as well as she was in True Blood, and she's been in a few other things.
The redhead.
She's blonde now, but yeah, she was the redhead in that. But she's a tremendous actress, and I thought that she actually did a really great job in this. Another person that I'm a really big fan of is Tyler Labine. For those of you that don't know the name, he was he was the bearded one in Tucker and Dale. I'm not sure if he's Tucker or
versus
Dale.
Evil.
Yeah, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. And he was also in Reaper. He was the best friend in Reaper, and he also had his own series on Amazon called Deadbeat for about 3 seasons, where he could talk to ghosts, and they would try and get him to help solve their unfinished business. So he's really funny, and they used him for comic relief. He played a really good character. Yeah. And then there's the black stock trader that takes tremendous care of himself. There's the young girl that's on the poster who is sort of an introvert, brilliant young girl.
Yeah.
There's the character you mentioned, who is the Indian guy obsessed with escape rooms, and then I think there was like 1 or 2 others, right? Oh, there's the slacker guy. That's working in the back room of a grocery store.
Yeah.
Did I miss anyone?
No, I don't think so. Well, the redhead was like she was military.
Yeah,
that was her backstory.
Right.
And
but yeah, so it's really. The acting was all there for me. The jerk was a jerk. The slacker played a good slacker. But like you said, when we found out that everyone had sort of their own issues that they were getting over, it worked really well. Right. Everyone had their moment to shine. This movie, more so than a lot of the, not only recent, but a lot of the ensemble horror movies that are really dependent on the ensemble, they falter in character development a lot of times. This one, I did not feel did.
Even when they are these like stereotypical characters, you know, I just thought that the twist was their background, and I think that really kind of just, I don't know, it solidified it for me that like these are real people. You know, it's not like these tropey type of characters. You know, that like I don't know. I really felt for them, and usually when they try to do something like that in a horror movie, where you got your slacker, you got your strong guy, you got your brainy guy, it's just like, oh, it's the same thing over and over again. But this time it really worked.
It felt different enough, didn't it?
Yeah,
like they messed with like the big strong guys. I don't know. Yeah, we don't need to delve into who usually represents what, but
like kind of like Cabin in the Woods, where
yeah, absolutely.
it had a good enough twist. To it.
Or Freddy versus Jason had all those same sort of tropes. The kids that were surviving in that one, like it is a familiar thing, but this one did a particularly good job. Now, let's talk about the set design, and I think the set design kind of went hand in hand with the cinematography a lot of times in this.
Yeah, definitely.
Because the rooms, guys, were so well put together and pretty much beautifully crafted in my estimation.
Yeah, definitely.
The first one is your typical sort of what you might think of as an escape room. It's like a nice sort of library-esque room with clues everywhere and everyone trying to figure it out.
Yeah, that was at the very beginning, which you find out there's more to that.
There's more to that. There's the waiting room area kind of thing that you see in the trailer. There's the snowy room area that you see in the trailer.
That was wild.
I don't want to keep telling you, but there is one in particular that is towards the back half of the movie that was so interesting.
Yeah.
And the way what ended up happening in the room was complemented by the design of the room, and then the cinematography piled on top of that and was here's what I'm going to use this room to do and disorient you, and so effective.
Well, yeah, because like even the characters in the movie are disoriented because of the room, but like you as the viewer are also disoriented. It was really trippy how that all.
Yeah, it was. I loved it though, because it's you know, it's not something I'd really necessarily seen before. We saw something kind of similar in a really popular movie that came out I think a year and a half ago or something like that, and I'll tell you off camera which one it is, but only in so much as there was a filter used at one point that was very reminiscent of it. But yeah, I really thought that the way. Oh, and there's there was another room that I don't want to ruin the room, but the diner room, I thought that was excellently done.
Well, wasn't it the bar?
Yeah, the bar diner. Yeah, I got a diner feel from it for some reason, but yeah, the bar.
Yeah.
That room was tremendous, and when they reveal it, it was like, oh, like there was a lot of times when they would show something or reveal something in this that was really effective as viewers, and everyone in the theater, it was a packed theater, was really on board for it all.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of people that, like, you could tell were just like totally sold on this movie.
Yeah, keyed in totally.
Yeah.
Again, we did get to sort of a lackluster, at least in our estimation, resolution. But, you know, it's not terrible. They do sequel bait a little bit. Well, very hard. They sequel bait very, very hard. But it is, it's not in the typical sequel bait way. Like, that, trust me, saying that there's more escape room movies coming does not ruin who or if there are survivors. Trust me. So that's not a spoiler. But yes, the ending is. It could be better. I don't. Obviously, we're not going to spoil anything in this review, but I think the way I can say it is that for as much as they built up, I was hoping for a bit more, I guess. And this felt like something. I know I have seen something like this before, even as recently as a movie that I reviewed this year that had sort of a similar ending, which it's probably good I can't think of it, because then you could watch the review and know what the ending is. But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything you want to say about the ending that's not spoilery, that is why you felt the way you were?
You know, I think that when you see the trailer, there's going to be movies that you think that it is, and I feel that it kind of writes itself into those type of movies.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And so, without spoiling anything, so, and unfortunately, like I guess that's okay, but I wish there would have been a bit more of a twist.
Yeah. That's so. Again, we're on the same page. It's like. It's a serviceable ending. It's like okay, but it could have been that's cool. On after so many that's cool moments.
Right.
It should have had a big that's cool moment at the end, and it just didn't.
Yeah.
But you know, overall, I think it was a tremendously successful film. I would be surprised. Again, like we were talking about before the movie. Is this going to be a bad one because they're dumping it in January, largely known as we were saying, the dumping ground for a lot of movies.
Dump month.
Except for Shyamalan, who's trying to change that. But man, this does not feel like a dump movie to me.
No, I thought that it was very visual, very. I'm glad we saw it in the theater.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
You know?
The scale of it actually feels, even though it's like all taking place in one sort of place, the scale of it feels like a big budget, big scale movie.
Right.
They did a really good job.
And the editing was phenomenal. That's what I like. You felt like that. You felt the tension, especially like when some of these rooms are timed and stuff like that, where you're just like, oh snap, how are they gonna get out of this?
It taps into the thing that always gets to me. It's like something is right at your heels and you got to get out. In this case, it's the clock most times, and what happens when that clock runs out, nipping at their heels, kind of thing. And it's always like, I'm saying, there were times where you had to exhale when they finally got to the next room. You're just like.
like even at the beginning of that movie, you're just like, Jesus, like right off the bat,
they throw you in, and then what they do with that information they give you in the beginning is nice. I liked that actually, honestly. Now let's also talk about the effects. That's the one thing we haven't hit on yet. Now there was some CG effects for sure, but the amount of practical set design actually made it feel effecty, even though there weren't necessarily effects in those shots. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it felt effecty the way they were doing certain things, especially the bar room, but it's not, you know. I mean, one aspect of it is, but the rest of it is not. It's all practical. There were a few effects, though, you know, like flame effects, things like that.
The cold room.
That especially, you see in the trailer, there's a sort of a not electric, but there's a wall that isn't quite a wall kind of thing. So they did have to use some CG enhancements, but I thought all of it worked. There was nothing that was like, outside of the fact that, they're obviously not going to do that to this group of people in real life. But otherwise, the effects were very passable and effective.
And I thought the kills were interesting, too. I thought that they were very creative.
Honestly, for being a PG-13 movie, I thought they were very effective.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I was surprised at how much so, to be honest. Usually, that's my biggest gripe. It's like there's so many cutaways and just lameness and things like that. They didn't cut away, but they didn't do the kills in such a way that it necessitated an R rating. They were all effective enough without it, honestly. So that's another feather in the movie's cap, to be quite honest with you. So yeah, guys, I mean, this is an overall very positive experience for us that I wasn't expecting. I mean, a movie like Escape Room, you don't really think, and I'm surprised they're not trying to market it more, push it more. It's only a month and a week away, but it's a solid movie. If you guys like horror and you're worried about the wasteland of January until we get Glass, then, definitely go check out Escape Room.
Yeah, I would check it out, definitely.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, I think that's going to do it for our non-spoiler review of Escape Room. I'm going to take a minute or two and decide if we're going to do a spoiler review or not. If you see one, great. If not, I decided not to because it's a month and a week away, and I'm sure you guys want to experience it yourselves. But I don't know. We'll see. Thanks very much for watching, though. Click the link in the description box to join our Patreon if you want to be able to contribute to the show and request reviews for us to do, all that sort of stuff. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
Dirk Harron.
And remember, stay scared.